A big day in the Florida governor's race today as we expect Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings to make an announcement later today at a rally in Orlando, where he will announce his candidacy on the Democratic side of things for the governor's race. We've been talking a lot this week about that governor's race as things really start to heat up. Yesterday, had a conversation with former Congressman David Jolly, who's also running on the Democratic side. And we are pleased to be joined this morning by one of the Republican candidates, and that is Congressman Byron Donalds, who joins us live now via Zoom. Congressman Donalds, good to talk with you. We appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Congressman Donalds, first of all, I want to get your reaction to the breaking news this morning about former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announcing that she is not going to run for re-election to the House. President Trump, according to Peter Doocy, said she was evil and corrupt. And I'm just curious your thoughts on her not seeking re-election, that breaking news this morning.
This is something that's long overdue. This is why I support congressional term limits. We cannot have members either party be in Washington for that long because they become addicted to power. You know, I've been in Congress now. This is my third term. When I ran for Congress back in 2020, I told my district, you get 10 years max out of me, and then I was going to move on because it's not meant to be forever. Nancy Pelosi is one of the most destructive speakers in American history. I mean, people need to examine what's going on in healthcare right now. Premiums are through the roof. Deductibles are through the roof. People can't afford the health insurance they have. And Nancy Pelosi was one of the key architects. And so as far as I'm concerned, it's about time that she left.
You talk about moving on. Your goal is to move on into the governor's mansion in Tallahassee. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I want to first talk about kind of big picture here on the Republican side of things in these campaigns, because with the elections that we saw on Tuesday, a good night for Democrats in several states. And I wonder if there are lessons to be learned on the Republican side from those results, or any adjustments to messaging as a result of what we saw on Tuesday night in some places here in Florida and across the country.
Well, there's always lessons to be learned. I would say the first one is your candidate, whoever they are, they have to be able to be in every room and campaign for every vote. When you're campaigning for office, I don't really care what level you're talking about. There has to be a no stone left unturned mindset. You have to be willing to go and have these direct conversations. I think two, grassroots organizing, being on the ground, turning people out, that is a core function of any election, no matter if it's a presidential, an off year like what we saw on Tuesday, or even in the midterms. But I think too, about the messaging going forward, you know, we have to be focused on affordability. Affordability is still an issue in America. It's a major issue in Florida. And the voters need to be fully aware that these affordability issues were created by radical Democrat policy, like a Nancy Pelosi, like the two gentlemen who were running on the Democrat side of the aisle to be the state's next governor. They supported all these radical policies, which have increased costs on the American people and on the people of Florida. And so what it's going to require in terms of leadership going forward are common sense, conservative economic policies that produce price stability, drive costs down, and allow people to be able to thrive and succeed here in Florida and throughout America.
I want to drill down more on that affordability issue here in just a minute, but Jerry Demings is expected to make his announcement at a rally later today. We know he officially filed and is in this race. You released a statement calling him woke and weak and wrong for Central Florida. What do you mean by that?
Oh, it speaks for itself, actually. Jerry Demings has supported transgenderism with boys and women's bathrooms, boys and women's sports. He spent the money of the money of Orange County to support DEI policies, more than $200,000. These are things that are not in lockstep with where the people of Florida are and what they want to see going forward. What Floridians want is a state that's still going to be committed to law and order, a state that's going to be committed to common sense economic policies that work for everybody, and that are committed to a strong economy. And so what Mr. Demings, his career has demonstrated is that he's far more in line with Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi than he is with Governor DeSantis and what people of Florida have been wanting to see, and have actually been moving to Florida to be a part of. And that's the best state in the country.
The I want to ask you about the potentially historic nature of the general election. If you are the Republican nominee and Jerry Demings is the Democratic nominee, it would be the first time there have been two black men facing off, as nominees of major parties for the governorship. What does that mean to you?
What it means to me is that we are a meritocracy. That's what it means. It means that people in our state, and frankly, people all across the country, we are more focused on what people can actually get done. What are the positions that they stand for, the positions that they believe in, and are they going to go fight for them? That's what it means. And I think that in our state, through my time in politics, but it's not just me, it's so many others. Florida is a meritocracy. We just want to make sure that you're going to stand for truth. You're going to stand for right policy. You're going to stand for common sense. And as long as you demonstrate that you can do that and you're committed to that, the people of Florida will support you. So that's what it means to me. Obviously, both being black men, that would be historic for our state, but that would just be historic for the state. What it really means about Florida is that people just want competency to reign. They want a great state. They want a great state. They want that to continue. They want great opportunities for their kids, for themselves. And they just want to be able to live in a state that's the best in the country. And that's what we're going to provide and maintain as the state's next governor.
Let's talk affordability here, because you mentioned that being an issue that was on voters' minds on Tuesday. We know polling shows it as a big issue on voters' minds here in Florida. Many say that the state's going through an affordability crisis right now. How would you work with the state legislature to address that if you were governor?
We would be meeting nonstop to pull back the curtain and address every aspect of state and local government. Let me give you a few examples. Obviously, Governor DeSantis is pushing very hard for eliminating homestead property taxes in our state. This is something I do agree with the governor on. Looking forward to seeing his proposal and being able to support it. One of the other things around that proposal, we're going to have to make sure that our sheriffs, our firefighters, our emergency personnel, road maintenance, and a lot of those issues that local government has to deal with, that we can continue to pay for those. But we got to give people relief. Number two, insurance. Insurance rates in the state look like they're starting to come down. Auto insurance rates are starting to come down. It looks like some of the property and casualty rates as well. We have to continue those policies to keep those rates down and to drive them further. If you're anybody who pays a mortgage, if your taxes and insurance are equal to or higher than principal and interest, you have a problem. And in certain parts of the state, that is a reality. So we have to get those two under control. Number three, permitting. Local government permitting adds unnecessary costs to construction projects all through the state. Talk to any contractor, talk to any developer. If it takes you 2 to 3 years to put a shovel in the ground, what happens is you have dead money in those projects, and that dead money is not free money. It just ends up in the retail costs of whatever you're developing. So we have to have a modernization of all of Florida government, top to bottom, to bring the efficiencies necessary so you can squeeze unnecessary costs out of a lot of these projects. And those costs are really just government derived costs. It's not concrete. It's not copper. It's not labor. That's just government. And we have to get that out of the way. So those are three things as an example. But we have to do that, and we have to do much more.
You talk about the property taxes, and we know Governor DeSantis has criticized the way the House is handling this, where they basically had a bunch of proposals and are saying we're going to kind of see, what all of them do and what the voters might have to say about that. What do you think about that kind of strategy about this? And do you think that's a wise way to do it, or do you agree with Governor DeSantis on that?
Well, look, I would urge the governor and the legislature to sit down and put pen to paper and work this whole thing out. I think there's a real pathway to doing that. For something this monumental with around the tax structure in our state, I think it's very important that everybody's on the same page. I know the House has their proposals. We'll see where they go. That still has to get approved by the Senate. So we are at the starting point here. Nothing is done. I know the governor is going to be releasing his proposal soon. I look forward to seeing that. But I think it's going to be important for the governor and the speaker and the Senate president to be able to get together, come up with one solution that can go in front of the voters. I think that's going to be critical.
Last thing here, Congressman Donalds, and we appreciate your time here. It is day 37 of the government shutdown, and there are a lot of families here in Florida hurting for a variety of reasons, whether it's SNAP benefits, whether it's working without a paycheck, whether it's being furloughed and so not receiving a paycheck right now. What is your message to those families who are finding themselves in a tough time right here in the Sunshine State right now?
My number one message is I am so sorry you are being caught up in the political games of Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats. They've had 14 opportunities to vote to reopen the government, and they have refused every single time. We have airlines all across America who are now going to put out notice about flight delays, and those flight delays are going to have major impacts for our economy. And then you have companies that do some work in part dealing with the federal government, where they're not getting the money that they need for those projects that they've been doing so they can pay their people. This is incredibly unfortunate. I know my Republican colleagues in the Senate, they have put forward proposals to pay federal employees to actually be able to pay SNAP and WIC benefits, and that has been refused by Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats. So I would actually urge Mr. Demings and Mr. Jolly, they need to go talk to their Democratic colleagues in Washington, D.C., because this obstruction, just so you can score political points, is not working for the American people. It's not working for the people of Florida.
Congressman Byron Donalds, Republican candidate for Florida governor, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Thank you.